Went back to Ultrakill because I never ended up finishing off the chapter 1.
Yeah, I didn't either. Mark 2 kicked my fucking ass.
Yeah, went back to it. I stopped after V2 last time, and then Hikita dropped a message and went, "Hey, by the way, like there's more to that chapter." And I was kind of just like thinking, like, "Oh, well, I guess I'll pick it up, especially if it comes out of early access at some point with the whole thing." And he was like, "Well, every chapter is going to be updated into the game as a self-contained thing, and it won't be out of early access until all the chapters are done." And I was like, "Oh shit, that's actually early access."
Yeah, it feels like old-fashioned, like shareware, like knee deep in the dead, and then
Yeah,
later.
he's making it, but it's just like the other chapters are not done yet, but what you're getting is like a fully playable chapter there. So I was like, oh fuck, okay, well then in that case, let's go back to it, and I did, and took a second for me to warm back up and figure out what I was doing, and also just like, of course, there was a lot of issues with me playing on controller. I remember that I had to sort out, but I figured them out, and I got back in, and it was rough. But then I was able to make it after warming up a little bit, and it's of course fucking incredible. Ultrakill continues to be just like badass in terms of like it's got like a style meter and it's first person.
It lives up to its incredible title.
It really does. And what happened was between last time I played it and now, I got the new computer, so Steam cloud saves were uploaded, and I was able to resume from where I left off. But not every setting carried over, and I didn't quite realize that had happened. So I continued through the game playing, and I remember, he messaged me and mentioned that like auto aim doesn't carry over on the cloud save for some reason. It just it's built different, whatever it is about it. So it was off, which is like the aim correction for like for when you're playing on pad. And so I just went through the rest of the game without it, and made things a bit harder until I got to the final boss, and it was fucking brutal. And everyone will get to see me spending what it felt like an hour. It could have been 40 minutes. It was many, many tries. It took a long time to overcome the final fucking boss of that thing. It was incredible, but it definitely hit a point where I was literally like, I can feel that. Like, there's points where I'm like in Sekiro, for example, where I'm like fighting a really hard boss, and I'm like, okay, I know I can do this. I just need to like get good and get my brain in the right place.
I just need to make 2 or 3 less mistakes than the last time.
Exactly. But in this case, I could feel it where I'm like, oh, I know my aim is subpar to what the exam is asking of me.
Oh.
I know that. So I'm trying to figure out...
You're not making mistakes, it's that you're failing to complete, like, bare minimums.
So I have to figure out other solutions from the multiple ways that you can handle this regularly if your aim isn't dog shit. Now, full disclosure, if I had turned that setting back on to the way I was playing it before, it probably would have been fine. But in the end, I brute forced it on controller without the aim option on, and managed to do it. I fucking did it. I really wanna say thank you. I appreciate you joining my impromptu crusade that is playing the New Blood published shooters with controllers against the express desires of their CEO and developers. Yes. I don't know, in the New Blood CEO, New Blood CEO man never came to message me or troll me about anything, so I'm still in the clear on that. But Hikita, the dev, did show up, and at the end of the day, I would like to think... I would like to think of it like this, right? Sure, most people who pop this game in are going to play it as intended with the mouse and keyboard. But there will be those that don't. Allow me to
They have controller support in the game.
They do. allow me to be your QA guinea pig for the person who who buys this but wants to play it on a pad.
When I was playing Dusk, I got to the final area of Dusk, and the final encounter just completely broke, and none of the triggers worked. And I messaged Dave about it. I'm like, what happens with that? And he's like, I don't know, lol. We didn't fully test that room on a controller because who uses a controller?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thanks. Great. Thanks,
like,
Dave.
This is the feeling, and we know it's there. This is the sentiment. But if it is supported and it's in the game, someone's going to use it, and I'll be that person, and I'll go through it knowing that this is a moment where they're like, yeah, we just wanted you to aim with the mouse on that trigger, dude. Like, that's not meant to be you juggling your thumbs off of the sticks to get this working. But whatever, we did it. I made it work.
There should be a thing when you start that says like real Ultra Killers use a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
Like real Yakuza use a gamepad.
Real Yakuza use a gamepad. Exactly. Totally. Just fucking throw it in there and let people know. But yeah, that was really fun. And then the same debacle continued into the next game, which I was trying to schedule Ultrakill and Ghostrunner for the same day.
Oh man.
Let me tell you
fucking
about
Ghostrunner.
Ghostrunner, dude.
Oh yeah, tell me about Ghostrunner.
Did you touch it?
I already know, but tell me again.
Did you touch? Okay. Now, how did you touch it?
I don't remember. Let me look. Let me go and check while you talk.
Cause let me tell you what happened. I saw the announcement for this a while ago, looked incredible, bought it immediately, and then when the time came and I was like, you know what, let's schedule it. I saw it was on console, and I saw it was on PS4, downloadable on PS5. So I said, fuck it, let's get that and let's play. Let's try that out.
This is definitely controller footage. Yeah, this is oh man.
Okay. So you play, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I boot up the game on PlayStation and I begin playing it that way. And within seconds, like if you see the archive footage, within seconds, I'm like, oh, this feels wrong. This feels like it's fighting me because it intends for me to use a mouse, right?
It feels like they built the whole game for mouse and keyboard, and then added controller support.
But hold the thought, right? Because there's a little twist at the end of the story here. So I'm playing through it on the PS4, and then I'm like, yeah, this is like, I can tell that this is not intended, right? And the game asks you to do things really fast. It asks you to turn very quickly, and to handle, very fast Mirror's Edge style platforming into combat, back into platforming, and you got to be on top of that, right? Okay. So it was weird, and I showed people that, like, I implore, like, everyone, hold your horses. Just I demonstrated.
I remember being like in this situation where the controller acceleration is like super fast, but it used to be, but it's still too fast.
So then I start changing the acceleration around, and I start seeing how fucking, like, okay, it gets better if you slow it down so that you can be more precise, but it's still fighting you, right? And I'm trying to do tight circles, and there's times where literally the circle stops. It's just, there's a dead zone practically that you're not able to configure. And I'm like, that's weird, right? So then I'm like, all right, I feel as if this is demanding mouse level accuracy. What if, though? And everyone goes, no, don't do it. And I'm like, what if, though? And I reach into the drawer behind me and I pull out the Tactical Assault Commander, aka the Abomination, and we fucking go in. Now, I bought the Abomination, the Hori half controller, half mouse thing. And to be honest, at the end of the day, goofs aside, I literally never used it once. I bought it, I shook it at the camera, everyone got scared, and then I shoved it in a drawer and never used it. So I'm like, let's actually plug this in for once and see what happens here, right? The fucking weirdest, because as I showed before, all the face buttons get placed where R1 is, or L1 is, excuse me, and then the mouse ends up being the other shoulder buttons, and then you have to figure out that whole thing. It's wild. It's crazy, right? It's more nuts than the actual simple hybrid solution of holding a controller in one hand and a mouse in the other. Like, it's wackier than that because it moves all the shit over.
Seems like the worst of all worlds.
So then I try running a couple games of that still on the PS5, and like I managed to have better aiming with that solution. So I'm able to get past a couple of those tutorial fights and go okay, no, this is doable, but it's still fighting me. And I prove it, and I'm like, let me move the mouse around in circles and show you. And again, moving the mouse in circles, and you see it stop, then start circling, and then stop, and then it won't tighten up. It just won't go precise, And I'm like, man, it maybe it's just looking for analog stick usage here, but wow, that's so weird, And I end up playing, and I get through the intro part, and then it gets to you go through the platforming tutorial, and you get to another area where you do a wall running tutorial practically. And it's not working because every time you try to look sharp to the left or right to get that wall running shit done, it's like, nope, you can't aim it accurately quickly enough to get it where it needs to be. I'm having an issue with it, right? And then it's like, oh, give Reggie a shot. And I was like, yeah, no, by all means. So Reggie tries it, and he goes, oh, whoa, yeah, okay. This is not what I thought it was from looking at the way you're playing it. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty fucking... And he's like, yeah. And then we're back on normal controller at this point, right? Yeah. Abomination goes away, and he's like, yeah, he's having trouble with it too. I'm like, man. So we just kind of... And at first, it's fun in the video, and we're going on about the Abomination. Then we hit this wall of yeah, I can't aim properly with the thumbstick. It's just not working. So we kind of just go, all right, let's just stop here, because this is a moment where if we weren't streaming our LP recording process, we would have just went, let's figure out what's going on and then come back to this later.
It's interesting. I didn't have this much problem with the analog movement. I had problems where its sensitivity's too high and it was clearly designed for a mouse, but I didn't have this dead zone issue you're describing.
Let me get there. So this is the point where we would just stop the recording. No one would ever see it. It'd be done. But we're live. This is how we do it. Everyone sees the mess now. Okay. We flaccid fucking call, just tap out of the video, because we're like, if the tutorial is an issue with controls here, then pull the fucking plug, right? And this is, again, the PlayStation version. Shut it down. We do the whole thing. Everything's fine. Great. All right. In the meantime, I'm installing the PC version in the background. Reggie goes home later on that night. I boot up the PC version. And I'm like, all right, we can just play with mouse and keyboard and do whatever. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Let me plug in the controller. And I turn my controller on.
Let's see if it's the same.
Xbox controller, right? Standard, Xbone, whatever. Go in. Fucking flawless. No issues whatsoever playing with just the Xbox controller. Tracking, dead zone, sensitivity, ability to smoothly aim at a target, kill him and then move to the next one, or aim at the wall, all of that shit, not a single problem. The thing with where Titanfall has a bunch of different ways that you can choose how the accuracy works on the thumbstick and how to accelerate and all that, it's in one that works for the game. And literally, there are options that are on the PC that don't exist on the console. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? And the answer is, the port of the game is fucking trash by comparison. It is a different... It is a port that has a different setting, that has different control settings, different analog sensitivity that you can't modify, and it feels completely different on PC. Night and day.
That sucks.
I caught back up to where we were struggling with in less than 10 minutes. No problem.
Yeah, because when we started this, I'm like, I think this, like, I played on with an Xbox controller on PC, and like the camera is still like really sensitive, and it swings around too
It
quickly for my
does.
taste.
Yeah.
And it is obviously made for mouse and keyboard translated to a controller, but like the problems you were describing seem so much more extreme
Yes.
than what I ran into.
Wild, right? There's points where I'm doing, you know, when you're like, so you're in the tutorial where you're doing the platforming section, and you have to jump on like little appearing blocks that are like bouncing you around, and trying to move both the thumbstick or the fucking abomination mouse to line it up properly to jump and land on the next thing, and it would like, there would be times when I'm turning and then it just stops, right?
Oh, man.
In midair,
That's
and I'm like,
impossible
what
to
is
play.
happening?
Worthless.
So is as soon as I switch it over, it's like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. And this is a game that plays like a first-person shooter version of Katana Zero, so you have to like you have to dodge bullets constantly.
Yeah, when I was looking at my own controller footage, I found a bit where I'm trying to reflect a bullet, and I died like 40 times in a row trying to parry back like multiple bullets in a row before I just decided to jump around them.
So
Like, it demands precision.
It turns out that the 3D maneuver gear was busted. It turns out the fucking game itself just feels way worse on console. And I don't know what it's like on like Xbox or anything, but fucking buyer beware. The PC version has more options and feels better and allows you to actually fucking play with a controller no problem.
That sucks.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do it again sometime in the future, and play it properly, and that like abomination fucking video is, you know, whatever. It's there somewhere, but it's not an accurate, like, or rather, I didn't know what was happening until I switched to the PC version. So I'm giving the game like a lot of credit that I shouldn't be, now that I know how awful that felt. You know?
I wonder if it was outsourced or if they just didn't care as much about the PS4 version.
I don't know. I don't know. But just anyone who's looking into Ghostrunner, just be aware of that. This is the opposite of like the PC port problem, where it's like, here it's like, no, this was the lead platform, and then it was not intended for controllers, but it still worked fine when on the original platform, and then the PlayStation one just feels like shit. So yeah, that will be back to rectify that at some point in the future, but it's crazy how different it is, you know.
That's
weird.
depressing.
Weird.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who pick that up on PS4 and like, why is this game so bad? Just,
I mean, now I'm like gonna pay way more attention to that now that that's a thing, because like,
that's not the kind of thing I would expect to change between different versions.
yeah, and but I also like, when I felt issues like that in the past, like for example Titanfall, you then go to options and try to find your own version of it because it had different acceleration settings, you know?
Yeah, because maybe the default for whatever platform is going to be different.
Exactly. So at bare minimum, I would imagine, oh, this feels weird to me. Let me fix it in the configs until it's going to be fine. But there you just didn't have anything. And in this case you do, you know? Weird one. But that's Ghostrunner. Yeah, more on that.
Play it on PC if you can.